Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the second video for our pre-arrival series. My name is Zaina, and we are going to be talking about life in South Bend. So first, we're going to answer just a few questions to kind of give you an idea of what you can expect upon your arrival in the South Bend area. And we also have some resources that will walk you through. So the first discussion point here is, how do I get around South Bend? So thinking about transportation. So we want to give you a little bit of an idea of what you can expect regarding how you can navigate transportation upon your arrival to Notre Dame and the South Bend area. So the first option here is the South Bend Transpo, which is our city bus service. You can use the city bus with your Notre Dame ID card. It is free with the Notre Dame ID card. The only downside about the city bus service is that it is not always the most efficient. And so you'll want to take this into consideration when you're thinking about where you're going to be living. If you haven't already seen the housing video, we recorded that last month, so you should watch that as well. One of the things we tell you to think about is how close your housing is to the city bus routes, or how close it is to a bus stop. The next option is biking. So there are bike lanes around the city. There are, of course, places to bike and racks to put your bike on campus. It is, however, going to be difficult to bike during the winter months. And so that may not necessarily be a realistic option in the winter months. So you'd want to have a backup plan for how you would get around the city, get your groceries, get to and from campus every day during those winter months if you are going to be biking. Uber Lyft, of course, is always an option. Uber and Lyft are both available services here in the South Bend area. That would be, of course, a little bit more expensive if you were going to rely on that as your main method of transportation. And then also the ISSA bus trips. So from ISSA, you're going to receive invitations throughout your time at Notre Dame for, we host grocery shuttles to get you from campus to a grocery store to get groceries. We also host other kind of maybe more fun trips around the South Bend area, sometimes to Chicago. And so that would be a way to get around the city, but not necessarily something that you could do every single day. So we just wanted to draw your attention to the South Bend Transpo webpage. This is the page for the city bus service. This is just a screenshot of what it would look like. So you could go to the website and put in your starting point and your destination, and it would assist you in figuring out the best way to get from point A to point B. So a few other perhaps less realistic options, but things that we want to make you aware of nonetheless, are things like buying a car. Some of you may choose to buy a car during your time at Notre Dame. But some things to keep in mind with that are that you would need to get a driver's license. The financing, the cost of a car, the cost of getting car insurance, the cost of registering your car in the state of Indiana, that sort of thing. So financing is something definitely to keep in mind if you're considering this option. And then, of course, what the process would look like to sell your car before you complete your time at Notre Dame. Or perhaps if you were to if you are a student who's going to apply for work authorization after you graduate, what does it look like to either take your car with you or sell it before you move to another state? Walking. So campus, of course, is a really walkable place to be. However, the city of South Bend is perhaps less walkable. There are a lot of areas outside of just the downtown area that don't have sidewalks. And so walking around is also not necessarily going to be a realistic option as a primary method of transportation. Again, similar to the situation with biking, it's also not going to be the most realistic option in the winter when the weather is more severe. The other thing to keep in mind with walking is just around safety and where you're walking at night. And then we also listed here the South Shore Line. This isn't necessarily a way that you would move around in South Bend, but it is important to know that this method of transportation exists to get you from South Bend to the Chicago area. So this train, the South Shore Line, is a train that can take you from the South Bend Airport all the way into downtown Chicago. So the next question here is, how do I find fun things to do? So of course we want you to have an amazing academic experience during your time at Notre Dame, but we want you to make sure that you're also thinking about how you're holistically developing yourself, and are you really taking advantage of all of the amazing opportunities that Notre Dame and being in South Bend are going to provide to you. And so how are you going to find these opportunities? So the first one, of course, is to make sure that you're engaging on campus, not just with your department, your academic program, but also with various Notre Dame offices that are all going to be offering many, many things to do, many events that you can attend. Examples of these offices are, of course, the ISSA office. We host several events throughout the year. With, of course, our international students in mind. Other offices like MSPS, the Multicultural Student Programming and Programs and Services Office, they will also host a lot of events. These are just a few examples, but there will be many, many more that you'll find out about when you arrive on campus. Additionally, you'll want to make sure you're immersing yourselves in all the student clubs available to you at Notre Dame. There are many. Make sure that you're reading your emails. This sounds really simple, but if you don't read your emails, you're going to miss some of these opportunities, things that you may be interested in participating in, both on campus and in the South Bend area, or perhaps even like in Chicago, that you'll have access to as a Notre Dame student. So do make sure to read your emails. Additionally, the Notre Dame events page. So Notre Dame has basically like a calendar of all of the registered university events happening every single day. And so that is how you could kind of see what's going on over the course of, the next month and what you may be interested in attending. Again, these may not necessarily all be on campus, but you may have maybe special access to an event as a Notre Dame student. And then lastly, engage in the local community. There's also so much to do outside of Notre Dame's campus. Things like farmers markets around the city of South Bend, holiday markets in South Bend, but also in Chicago, Latin dance night. These are all just examples of things that you could be doing, ways to engage in the South Bend community and do something a little different than what you may be doing every day on campus. How do I engage with my faith in South Bend? So, of course, faith is something that is a core part of the Notre Dame experience as a Catholic institution. There is a campus ministry that is an office on campus that helps with faith discernment. So if you're not sure kind of how to get involved or kind of where to go off campus, they would be a really great first resource. They can connect you to local churches, mosques, synagogues, etc., to kind of help find your faith group. Of course, faith is a big way that people find community. And so they would be a great resource to assist with that. And then additionally, even if Catholicism is not your faith tradition, there are opportunities on campus. ISSA actually often co-hosts events with campus ministry, just as an educational opportunity for our students to understand more about Catholicism, because it is so foundational. It's such a core part of the Notre Dame experience. It may be helpful to know a little bit about it since you're going to be studying here for quite a while. How do I care for my family in South Bend? So this is a great question, particularly for those of you who are coming with either a spouse or maybe a spouse and children. There will be more info to come in our next video, which will focus on bringing dependents to the US. But if you wanted to get a jump start on that information, Notre Dame's Family Resource Center, you could do a quick Google search. They would be a great place to start to kind of give you an idea of some of the resources that Notre Dame provides. And they would also link you to other resources in the South Bend area that may be of use to you if you're bringing family with you. So a few other items that you may be asking in terms of adjustment to life in South Bend. How do I set up a bank account? How do I set up my US phone number? How do I find healthcare? If I want to get a driver's license, what does that look like? How do I know my rights as an international student in the United States? These are all great questions, and we're not going to get super into them today. However, we will touch on them a lot more when you arrive to campus through your orientation process. But I did also want to point you to our Life in the US webpage, which will be a great resource for all of you throughout your time at Notre Dame. But it's also going to be a great opportunity now if you wanted to get a jump start on some of that information. We have a webpage that kind of covers a lot of those questions that we were just referencing. So things like driving in the US, banking in the US, healthcare in the US, and then resources for international spouses. And then there is actually a session here from our ISSA Info Blitz about your rights as an international student in the United States. So 3 main takeaways from this video. The first one is understanding Notre Dame as a campus versus the city of South Bend, and making sure that you're engaging with both, which kind of leads into the second main takeaway, which is to engage in holistic development outside of your academic journey. Notre Dame is really, they really prioritize this idea of not just helping you cultivate your intellectual capacity, but also who you are as a person, that holistic development. And so we really want to make sure that you have every opportunity, both on campus and in the greater South Bend area, to take advantage of all the opportunities that are waiting here for you. And then the final one is just to stay curious, keep engaging both on campus and off campus, and know that there are resources. ISSA is one of those resources, but there are many on campus here to assist you if you have questions. We are going to conclude with some community recommendations. So we will give this to you again upon your arrival as part of your orientation, but it may be helpful for you to take note now of some of the recommended places to visit once you arrive on campus. I'm happy to share my favorites. My favorite coffee place is Cloud Walking. It's really amazing. That's the best coffee in the area, and I'm a huge coffee fan. So you know I'm telling the truth. Some places to get groceries. There are some kind of geographic specific places like Saigon Market. They have really great Chinese groceries. And then the Indian and Pakistani grocery store is also wonderful. Some parks in the area. My favorite is Potato Creek State Park. It's a really great place to go hiking if that's something that you enjoy doing. It's a little bit further away, maybe like 25 minutes away from campus, but there are many close places to go for a nice walk in nature if you feel so inclined. And then, of course, the most important thing is the food. What are some of the best places to eat once you arrive to campus into the South Bend area? My favorite is Bowl of Pho and Creation. Those are my favorites from this list, but a lot of the ones on here are actually pretty good. Of course, I'm happy to give more recommendations once we see you on campus. As I mentioned, the next video will be bringing family to the US, and that one will be coming to you in a few short weeks. Until then, take care. Bye-bye.